The moment Adoni turned and walked away, the forest seems to swallow her whole, leaving Abeni alone in the darkness. Hello everyone, welcome to Fortune City Stories. Do remember to subscribe, like, and drop your comment. Now let's continue our story. The small village of Irakpa was nestled deep in a forest where shadow danced with the wind and legends wove themselves into the very fabric of daily life. It was a place where superstitions thrived and fear of the unknown was as common as the morning dew. Tonight, the forest held its breath as an omen of darkness approached. Adonis' labor had begun under a blood-red moon, a sign that the villagers whispered about with dread. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an unsettling light over the thatched roof of the village. Inside the modest hut, Adoni clutched her husband's hand tightly, her face contorted with pain. The village midwife, a woman who had seen countless births, looked on with unease, her eyes darting adversely between Adoni and the window where the red moon was visible. When Abeni was finding the born, the room fell silent, save for the soft cry of the newborn. Adoni looked down at her daughter, but her joy was short-lived. The baby's arm bore a peculiar, shaped like a serpent, coiled around it. The midwife's eye widened in terror as she recognized the mark from old tales. This was no ordinary birthmark. It was a sign of a curse. As the news of the birth spread through the village, fear took hold like a choking vine. The villagers gathered, their faces shadowed with dread, to hear the village seer's pronouncement. The old woman, feared and respected, entered Adoni's home, her eyes clouded with age and mystery. Examined Abeni with a grim expression, she declared that the child was cursed, destined to bring misfortune and suffering to anyone who came near. From that moment, Abeni's fate was sealed. The villagers, steeped in their belief and fears, began to avoid Adoni's home. They whispered behind closed doors, their voices mixed with a mixture of pity and horror. Adonis tried to chill her daughter from the stairs, but their fear was impossible to escape. As the days passed, strange things began to happen. Livestock died under mysterious circumstances, crop withered, and illnesses spread like wildfire. The villagers' suspicions grew, and the cause of the child was blamed for every misfortune that befell them. Adonis' heart ached with the weight of her daughter's fate. She was torn between the love for Abeni and paralyzing fear of the curse. In the privacy of her home, she held up Abeni's clothes, whispered promises of protection and love. But even she could not ignore the growing fear that seeped into every corner of her life. As the moon continued its eerie watch over the village, the curse that no one dared to touch began to cast its long shadow over their lives. Adonis' hope for a normal life for her daughter seemed to vanish with each passing day, replaced by an ever-deepening sense of dread and isolation. The village of Irakpa had settled into a rhythm of fear and suspicion. The once vibrant community now moved with caution, their eyes constantly shifting, as if expecting the ground to open beneath them at any moment. The curse of Abeni seems to cast a power over every aspect of their life. As Abeni grew, so did the misfortune that plagued the village. Livestock continued to die under mysterious circumstances. One morning, the villagers awoke to find their prized goats lifeless, scattered across the fields. No signs of illness or struggle were visible. Just empty, lifeless body that seems to defy explanation. Crops too failed without warning. Fields that had once been lush in grain were now barren. The crops withered and brown. Illnesses began to spread through the village, affecting people of all ages. No remedy seems to work, and the village healer, who had always been able to cure common ailments, found herself powerless against these new afflictions. The villagers, their fear turning to anger, began to point fingers and cast blames. It was clear to them that the cause of Abeni was responsible for their suffering. So, in the midst of the growing chaos, the village here was summoned once more. Her presence was fueled with a mix of fear and desperation. She arrived with a grim expression, her eyes clouded by visions of impending doom. The villagers gathered around her, pleading for answers. The seer's prophecy was dark and foreboding. She warned that the cause was not merely a superstition, but a real and growing threat. The village was at risk of being consumed by the darkness if nothing was done. The only solution, she claimed, was to banish the child to the forest, where the cause had first taken hold. This, she said, would appease the spirit and end the suffering. The idea of banishing the child to the forest was met with mixed emotions. Some villagers felt a deep sense of dread at the thought of abandoning a helpless child in the unknown, while others were convinced it was the only way to save their community from further disaster. The debate grew heated, but fear ultimately prevailed. Adonim was heartbroken, felt trapped between her love for her daughter and the demands of the villagers. In the quiet of the night, she made the painful decision to send Abeni away. With a heavy heart, she prepared a small bundle of supplies, a bit of food, a blanket, and a charm set to protect against evil spirits. As the moonlight bathed the forest in an eerie glow, Adonai led Abeni to the edge of the woods. The forest seemed to watch them with silent dark eye. Adonai's tears mixed with night chill as she hugged her daughter one last time. She whispered words of love and promises of protection, though she knew they would offer little comfort in the face of such overwhelming fear. The moment Adonai turned and walked away, the forest seemed to swallow her woe, leaving Abeni alone in the darkness. The silence was absolute, broken only by occasional rustling of wings and a distant cry of nocturnal creatures. As Abeni stood at the forest edge, a tiny frame dwarfed by the towering trees, she felt the weight of her curse more than ever before. With the charm clutching tightly in her hand, Abeni took a first step into the forest, a path illuminated by the dim light of the moon. The forest was both a place of refuge and a realm of the unknown, and as she ventured deeper, she felt the oppressive weight of her curse closing in around her, mingling with the chill embrace of the darkness. The forest was unlike anything Abeni had ever imagined. The trees stood tall and menacing, their gnarled branches intertwining to form a nearly impenetrable canopy. The moonlight barely pierces through the dense foliage, casting strange shadows that seemed to move and shift with the life of their own. Every sound, a snap of the twig, a distant rustle, seemed amplified in the suffocating silence. Abeni walked cautiously, each step taken with a mix of trepidation and resolve. The charm her mother had given her hung around her neck, a small glimmer of hope in the dark, and she clutched it tightly. The forest seemed to close in around her, its oppressive darkness making it difficult to see more than a few feet ahead. As night gave way to dawn, Abeni discovered that the forest was not entirely silent. Soft whispers which seemed to drift through the trees, carrying on the wind. At first, she dismissed them as figment of her imagination, but the whispers grew louder and more distinct, as if the forest itself was trying to communicate. She couldn't understand the words, but it sounded mournful and pleading. By midday, Abeni was exhausted and hungry. The forest provided little in terms of food, and the chill of the night had left her shivering. She found a small clearing and decided to rest, hoping that some warmth and rest would give her strength. As she sat down, she noticed a strange shimmering light deeper in the forest. It seemed almost too perfect to be natural, a soft golden glow that beckoned her. Driven by a mix of curiosity and desperation, Abeni followed the light. It led her deeper into the forest. Past twisted trees and overgrown vines, the path became increasingly difficult, and she pressed on, guided by the promise of something that might help her. Suddenly, she came upon a small hidden grove. In the center stood a man cloaked in tattered robes. His face was obscured by shadows, but his eyes gleamed with an unsettling intensity. He held a staff adorned with strange symbols, and his presence seems to command the very forest around them. Abeni approached cautiously, her heart racing. The man regarded her with a mixture of pity and interest. "You are the cursed child," he said, his voice soft but carrying an overtone of ancient knowledge. "I have been waiting for you." Fear and confusion gripped her, Abeni, but she forced herself to speak. "Who are you? What do you know about the curse?" The man introduced himself as an old guardian of the forest, a keeper of forgotten lore. He explained that the curse of Abeni was not a simple matter of bad luck, but a powerful force tied to an ancient spirit bound to the forest. The spirit had once been a mortal who had loved deeply but was betrayed, leading to its eternal torment. The guardian told Abeni that if she wished to break the curse, she would need to seek out an ancient power hidden deep within the forest. It was said to be a source of great magic, capable of either lifting the curse or consuming her entirely. To find it, she would have to confront her deepest fears and navigate through the forest's darkest corners. Abeni, though terrified, realized she had little choice. The forest had become her world, and the only chance she had to escape the fate was to follow this dangerous path. With newfound determination, she agreed to undertake the journey. The guardian provided her with a small vial of enchanted oil, saying it would offer some protection against the spirits that roam the forest. As she took the vial, he gave her a final piece of advice. The forest holds many secrets, and not all of them are kind. Trust your instinct, and remember that not everything is as it seems. With that, the guardian vanished into the shadows, leaving Abeni alone once more. The forest seemed even more daunting now, but she steeled herself for the journey ahead. The ancient power she saw was still far off, hidden in the heart of the forest, and she knew she would need all her courage and strength to face what lay ahead. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the trees, Abeni took a deep breath and stepped forward, determined to confront the darkness that awaited her and to discover the truth behind the curse that had haunted her since birth. The heart of the forest was a realm of shadows and whispers, where the air was thick with otherworldly chill. Abeni ventured deeper, guided by the faint light of the vast and enchantment and her own resolve. Each step felt like a battle against the forest seeming to shift as if testing her resolve. As night fell, the forest grew darker and more oppressive. The tree loomed like ancient sentinel, their twisted branches forming a canopy that blocked out most of the moonlight. Strange noises echoed through the trees, low growls, distant howls, and the occasional unsettling silence that felt almost like a presence watching her. Abeni came upon a large crumbling stone structure overgrown with vines and moss. The ancient temple was partially hidden by the furrow, its once grand entrance now a dark, yawning void. This was the place the guardian had spoken of, the hidden source of great magic. Taking a deep breath, Abeni stepped inside, a footstep echoing up the stone-cold wall. Inside the temple, the air was thick with dust and an eerie silence. The walls were adorned with faded murals depicting scenes of battles and ritual, their meanings lost to time. At the center of the temple lay an ancient altar, its surface covered in strange symbols and offerings long decayed. Abeni approached the altar cautiously, feeling a strange pull towards it As she neared, she felt a sudden coldness and heard a sore, mournful voice. The spirit of the ancient being bound to the corpse materialized before her. It was a ghostly figure, his eyes filled with a blend of sorrows and rage. The spirit spoke of his tragic past, a mortal who had once loved deeply but was betrayed and cast to wander the forest in torment. The curse was meant to be a way of keeping his soul bound to the head, never finding peace. Abeni's bloodline had unknowingly become a vessel for the spirit torment, and the serpent mark on her arm was a symbol of the curse's power. Abeni, though filled with fear, confronted the spirit. "I want to break the curse," she said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "Tell me how." The spirit explained that breaking the curse required a sacrifice, a choice that would either release the spirit from its torment or bind it to a new victim. The ancient power hidden in the temple could help, but it demanded a great price. To lift the curse, Abeni would need to confront the darkness within herself and make a choice that would determine her fate and that of the spirit. The air grew colder and the spirit form flickered. Abeni realized that the choice before her was not just about her own survival, but about the fate of countless others who had been touched by the curse. She could use the ancient powers to release the spirit, but in doing so, she risked her own life and freedom. Alternatively, she could attempt to harness the power to bind the spirit to herself, taking on the curse to protect others from its wrath. With a heavy heart, Abeni decided to confront the darkness within herself. She reached for the ancient power, a glowing orb that lay at the center of the altar. As she touched it, the power surged through her, filling her with both pain and strength. She felt the weight of the curse and the anguish of the spirit blending into one. The temple walls trembled and a powerful force surged through the room. Abeni fought to maintain her grip on the herb, channeling the ancient power to break the curse. She felt the spirit presence wavered. His mournful cries grew fainter as the curse began to unravel. In a final burst of energy, Abeni released the spirit-tormented soul from his bond. The orb slid through, blinding, and the spirit form dissolved into a peaceful golden light that drifted upward. The curse was broken, and the forest seems to breathe a sigh of relief. Exhausted but triumphant, Abeni emerged from the temple as dawn approached. The forest, once dark and foreboding, now seemed lighter and more welcoming. The enchantment on the veil had dimmed, and the oppressive feeling that it hung over her was gone. Abeni made her way back to the village, her heart heavy with the knowledge of what she had sacrificed. As she approached the village edge, she saw the villagers waiting, their faces a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The curse was no more, and the village was free from its shadow. Though the villagers welcomed her back with relief and gratitude, Abeni knew that her journey had changed her forever. She had faced the darkest parts of herself and emerged victorious, but she also knew she could never fully return to the life she had known. With a sense of both closure and new beginnings, Abeni chose to leave the village, taking a place where she could find peace and purpose beyond the shadows of the curse. The forest, once a place of terror, had become a symbol of her strength and resilience. As she walked away, she felt a renewed sense of hope and freedom, ready to embrace the future that awaited her. Moral of the story: true courage is not the absence of fear, but the determination to face it. Abeni's journey teaches us that even in the darkest of time, we have the power to confront our fear, overcoming our curses, and find a path to redemption. Thanks for listening to Tales from Fortune City Story. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more captivating tales and spine-tingling mysteries. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.